So our first guest on the panel is Sean McCarthy. Sean is a seasoned business transformation leader with over 20 years experience, a former senior naval officer specializing in digital and process transformations, and is now head of R&D quality learning innovation at Takeda Pharmaceuticals. Sean has led numerous transformation initiatives, including Future Fit at Takeda, and we're delighted to hear from Sean about what it takes to make transformation work at scale. And remember, if you have any questions for Sean throughout the webinar, please submit them in the live chat. Okay, so Sean, welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. Can you tell
Thank you,
us a bit
George.
about yourself?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, you've discussed in my bio, I'm a retired naval officer. I flew with the Navy for about 20 years before I had to figure out what I wanted to be when I grew up. So I got into management consulting and organizational change and found my niche there, where I've been lucky to be a part of several large transformational efforts across several organizations. And now I'm with Takeda Pharmaceuticals implementing, we're just finishing up a large implementation where we changed just over 60 of our processes and systems to help speed up the delivery of our medicines to our patients. But now I'm overseeing a transformation of our learning culture here as well.
That's amazing, and I'm sure everyone in the call would really love to hear some of your insights, particularly with those polling challenges, stakeholder buy-in, alignment, different learning styles. What are some of your experiences for making that work?
Well, it was really grateful insight from the audience today, and I appreciate that because those are all of the same issues that I've seen with our large transformations as well. I mean, when you're incorporating 60 different process changes and system changes, it's very easy to get mixed up in just the clutter of all of the change. And so, one of the things that we found a lot of success with was one, understanding what's in it for you and addressing that up front, because so many changes are what's good for the business. That's easy to understand. And that's usually part of your change charter. You understand why you're doing this to save the company some money or make some additional money. But when your employees have to adopt that change, so much of it is based on the expected value realization for them. And so we spent a lot of time with employees that were impacted by many of these changes, understanding how this was going to impact their day-to-day work. So we went out, did a lot of interaction with those folks, tweaked our processes in order to fit them better, but also help them understand the value of those changes to them. And in most cases, we're saving them time. We're getting away from the administrivia that takes up their day and helping them get back to the creative work that they wanted to do. In some cases, it was just a new system. And let's face it, some of the old systems we've used before could be frustrating. So by getting that valuable input from our employees, we were able to incorporate that into the new systems and solve a lot of those problems.
And were you able to use digital tools to communicate or to accelerate that or to reach a wider audience? What were some of your things you did there?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the most valuable was actually working with Ludic on Smart Lab, because we had a large virtual gallery walk last year, which we touched about 2,000 employees across Takeda globally. And that was the best thing about the digital enablement of that virtual gallery walk, was the ability to reach out and touch a global audience. We had some translation services involved as well, but for the most part, we have a predominantly English speaking employee base, so that made it quite easy. But it was great to see I would say, the analytics involved with that, because we also got to see where we were touching our audience. We had pop-ups or the heat maps for Japan and China, across Europe and North America, even South America. So that was just great to see, because not only did we know we were able to engage with our employee audience, we also got to see where and when and what was the best method to get that information to them.
Thank you, Sean. And I'm sure our audience is curious to hear what were some of the practical takeaways that you can share. So, having been through the process, doing this at scale, what are the things to really pay attention to get this right?
Yeah, I think based on my Navy career, the one foundational element that I always reinforce with every change project is keep it simple. If you can't articulate what you're trying to change simply, how do you think you're going to sell it to your employees? And so often we get lost in, oh, there's all these complex reasons for why we want to do this, but ultimately we're trying to do something to make our company better. And how are we making it better? We need to be able to keep that message quite simple. And I think that helps with the change because it helps explain the why. And once your organization understands the why, then they're more willing to come along on that journey, that change journey with you as they understand that.
Thank you so much, Sean. That's fantastic. Well, we're delighted to have you with us today. We look forward to hearing more of your insights on the panel later in the webinar. But for now, thank you so much, and we'll pass the mic over to Jessie and Aluba.
Thank you, George.